Hello, dear audience of Tieu. Today, I'm going to share with you a very special story, one about love, patience, and faith after so many years apart. Truong has finally come home. His wedding with Tieu took place in a burst of laughter and golden sunlight, with wind chimes ringing softly in the breeze. Little Dewey ran around holding a small bouquet, while Truong's mother quietly wiped away tears of joy. Everyone believed this was the perfect ending after all the storms they'd been through. But perhaps this wedding isn't the end. It's just the beginning of another story. A story deeper, more real, and maybe more painful. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode where the truth will slowly unfold and happiness might not be as whole as it seems. That morning, sunlight stretched across the old tiled roof, shining down on the small courtyard, a place that had once seen so many tears now filled with laughter and cheerful voices. The faint scent of grapefruit blossoms drifted in the breeze, blending with the soft music playing from an old speaker in the corner. The wooden house, the one Truong had promised to finish when he came back, was now covered in white fabric lit with strings of lights and decorated with wild daisies. Today was the wedding day of Truong and Tieu. Since early morning, Truong's mother had been busy arranging everything. She wore a dark velvet ao dai, her silver hair neatly pinned up her gentle face glowing with emotion. When she saw Tieu step out of the house, she smiled softly, the smile of a mother who had seen too many tears and could finally breathe again. Tieu wore a simple white ao dai jasmine flowers pinned in her hair, her eyes glimmering under the sunlight. She didn't need much makeup. Happiness alone made her glow more beautifully than ever. Dewey ran around the yard, holding a small bouquet, excited and proud. "Mom and Dad are really getting married today," he shouted. Truong stepped out from the porch in a white shirt and light gray vest. His hair was freshly cut, his face still carrying traces of time away from home, but his eyes were filled with love. When he saw Tieu, everything else seemed to fade away. He walked slowly toward her, each step closing the long distance of waiting separation and tears. Standing nearby, his mother held Dewey's hand and said softly, her voice trembling, "Finally, the day has come." Colorful confetti burst across the yard. Neighbors, friends, and relatives gathered to celebrate. Everyone was touched, seeing a family that had weathered so many storms finally stand together in happiness. Tieu and Truong stood before the ancestral altar, bowing their heads. The incense smoke curled gently upward, as if carrying the blessings of those who had passed. Truong whispered, "I'm home, and I'm not leaving again." Tieu held his hand tightly, her eyes glistening. The candlelight reflected on her face, making the moment feel almost sacred. When the music began, the two turned to each other and smiled full of emotion. Truong's mother walked up and carefully placed a silver hairpin in Tieu's hair. "From now on," she said softly, "you're my daughter." Tieu couldn't hold back her tears. She bowed her head and replied, "Thank you for always believing in me." Truong squeezed her hand, his eyes filled with deep happiness. When it was time for the rings, Dewey ran up with the little box in his hands. Standing between them, he said seriously, yet innocently. "Mom, Dad, now I finally have both of you." Laughter broke out, followed by applause and cheers. Truong leaned down, kissed his son's forehead, then gently slipped the ring onto Tieu's finger. She looked at him, her lips trembling as tears fell, tears of love and faith restored. The small celebration took place right there in the yard. People ate, talked, and laughed together while the children ran around. Tieu sat beside Truong, occasionally glancing at him and smiling a quiet, peaceful smile. His mother looked at them, her heart full. As the sun began to set, the family gathered for a photo in front of the wooden house. Truong stood in the middle, one arm around Tieu, the other resting on Dui's shoulder. His mother stood next to them, holding a newborn baby girl. The daughter, Truong, and Tieu had welcomed just 2 weeks earlier. The golden light of dusk washed over them, making the moment look like a painting. Dui's laughter mixed with the baby's soft cries, the sound of wind through the tiles, the chime of the wind bells, all blending into one melody of reunion. Truong looked at Tieu and said quietly, "I went too far, but I finally found my way home." She smiled gently and replied, "I know. I always believed this day would come." Dui ran over, hugged their legs, and laughed. "Mom, Dad, I love you both the most in the world." Everyone burst into laughter. Truong picked him up, and Tieu leaned her head on his shoulder. His mother watched the three of them nodding through her tears, tears of pure happiness. As the afternoon faded and most guests had gone, Truong and Tieu sat together on the porch. Dui was chasing butterflies in the yard, while Truong's mother softly hummed an old lullaby as she cradled the baby in her arms. Tieu rested her head on Truong's shoulder and whispered, "I used to think you'd never come back. I used to think I'd never see you again either," he replied. The wind chime rang gently, carrying the scent of areca blossoms. Everything felt so peaceful, too beautiful, too perfect, that Tieu's chest tightened. She closed her eyes, letting the breeze run through her hair. Then she heard Truong's voice. "Promise me, no matter what happens, you'll keep living happily." She laughed softly and opened her eyes, but Truong was no longer there. She turned around. The porch was empty. Truong's mother was gone too. The lullaby had stopped. Even Dui's laughter from the yard had vanished. Only the wind remained. "Truong," she called out, her voice trembling. No answer. The once bright sky had turned gray. Flower petals from the wedding scattered across the ground. White ribbons fluttered like smoke. The chair where Truong had been sitting rocked slightly in the wind. Shaking, Tieu stood up and stepped into the middle of the yard. It was empty now. No tables, no flowers, no laughter. Just her standing alone. Panic rose in her chest. She rushed inside. Everything was cold and covered in dust. The wedding photo was gone. The white dress had disappeared. Only an old picture frame sat on the table, a photo of her and Truong from years ago before he went missing. She collapsed to the floor, clutching her chest. No, that's not possible. We got married. He was just here. The wind howled through the door, and the chime rang again, the same sound from her dream. She lifted her head, tears spilling down her face. On the wall, the calendar still showed the month before Truong had returned. It was all just a dream. A dream so vivid it felt real. A dream she had longed for her entire life. Tieu broke down, laughing and crying all at once. Part grief, part gratitude. Because in that dream, she had seen him come home, heard his apology, held his hand again, and listened to their child's laughter on their wedding day. Through her tears, she whispered, "Truong, I dreamed of our wedding. Mom was there, Dewey was there, even our little girl. Everyone was smiling. You said you'd never leave again. But when I opened my eyes, it was just me." She hugged the picture frame tightly, tears soaking the photo. If it was just a dream, then I wish I could sleep forever in it. Outside, the rain began to fall, tapping gently on the tin roof, blending with her quiet sobs. Dewey stumbled out of his room, still half asleep. "Mom, are you crying?" She quickly wiped her tears, smiled, and pulled him into her arms. "It's okay, sweetheart. Mommy just misses your dad. Will Dad come back?" he asked, looking up at her. Tieu stayed silent. She looked toward the doorway, where the wind chimes still swayed, and softly answered, "One day, he will." Dewey nodded and nestled against her chest. Tieu stroked his back and began to hum a lullaby. Her voice trembled, but it was warm. "Sleep, my love, the wind still sings outside. Your father's somewhere out there watching over us. When you're older, you'll understand. Some people only return in our dreams, but they stay in our hearts forever." The rain kept falling. A flash of lightning lit up the window, reflecting the silhouettes of mother and son. One small, one frail, yet both strong. Tieu looked at Truong's photo again and smiled through her tears. "My love, if there's another life, I still want to dream of you. But this time, please, don't leave." Outside, the wind chime rang again, clear and lingering. And in the darkness, the wind whispered softly, "I never left, Tieu. I'm still here in your dream." She closed her eyes, letting her tears fall freely. And in her half-asleep state, she saw herself once more wearing a white ao dai, standing in a yard full of flowers, with Truong waiting for her smiling, as if the dream had never ended. The next morning, Tieu woke up in the familiar room, the one that used to be filled with the laughter of 3 people. Now there was only silence. Sunlight filtered through the window, landing on the picture frame at her bedside. In it were Truong, Dewey, and herself, taken years ago back when everything was still whole. She sat up, her eyes swollen after crying through the night. Her hand gently touched the photo, her finger resting on Truong's smile, still warm, still kind, just like the day he left. She whispered softly, "It was such a beautiful dream. So beautiful, I didn't want to wake up." Outside, the sound of birds filled the air, along with Dewey's voice calling from the front yard. He was carefully arranging small stones into the shape of a tiny house. When he saw her, his eyes lit up. "Mom, I'm building a house for Dad. When he comes back, he'll have a place to stay." "Okay." Tieu froze. Her throat tightened. She walked over, knelt beside him, and gently patted his head. "It's beautiful, Dewey. Your dad would be so happy to see it." He looked up, his voice innocent. "When will Dad come home, Mom?" Such a simple question, yet it cut straight through her heart. She pulled him close and whispered, "When you eat well, sleep on time, and help Mom out, that's when Dad will come home." Dewey giggled, believing her instantly, then went back to stacking stones, humming to himself. Tieu just sat there quietly, watching her son the boy with his father's smile and eyes. Every time Dewey laughed, she saw traces of the man she loved, the man who now lived only in memory. That afternoon, it suddenly began to rain. The first summer rain came pouring down, turning the fields behind the house into shimmering pools. Tieu sat on the porch, holding a cup of tea gone cold, watching raindrops hit the roof tiles. The smell of wet earth rose in the air, stirring old memories. When Truong was alive, every time it rained like this, he would pull her close and joke, "Listen, even the sky misses us." She laughed, then broke down in tears. Now the rain had returned, but he was gone. Only she remained alone, sitting on the porch, with nothing but the sound of wind and rain. Tieu opened the drawer and took out an old notebook, the one she used to write letters to him. The pages had yellowed, the ink smudged in places where tears had fallen. She turned to a blank page, took a deep breath, and began to write, "Dear Truong, last night I dreamed of you again. Everything was so beautiful that I truly believed it was real. You came home, we got married. Mom was there, Dai was there, even our baby girl. Everyone was smiling, and I smiled too. For the first time in so long, I felt truly happy. But then I woke up and realized it was only a dream. I cried, not because I was sad, but because I was grateful. Because even in a dream, I got to see you smile again." Tears dripped onto the paper, blurring the ink. She continued, "Truong Dewey still asks about you every day. He says, 'Why is Dad taking so long to come home?' I never know what to say. I just tell him that you're working far away, trying hard to come back to us. But every night when he's about to sleep, I still hear him whisper, 'Dad, I miss you.' And all I can do is hold him tighter. If you're somewhere out there, can you hear him?" Tieu set her pen down and looked out the window. The rain had stopped, and the sky was clear again. Through the clouds, a faint rainbow appeared. She smiled a smile tinged with tears. That night, after Dewey fell asleep, Tieu sat by the cradle rocking her baby girl to sleep. The baby, only 3 months old, had been born after Truong went missing. She named her Ha-an, hoping that peace would come after the storm. She looked down at the sleeping baby, her tiny hands curled softly in the blanket. Tieu brushed a strand of hair from her daughter's forehead and whispered, "Sweetheart, I dreamed about your dad last night. He kissed your forehead and said, 'You look just like me.' I don't know if you'll ever remember his face, but I believe he's still out there somewhere watching over us." A soft breeze slipped through the window, making the wind chime ring gently. That familiar sound made her heart ache. She looked up, her eyes wet again. "Is that you? Truong, did you come back to see your daughter?" A tender gust of wind brushed against her shoulder. She closed her eyes and felt its warmth, like the gentle touch of his hand on her back. In that moment, she believed it, that maybe he was still here somewhere close, even if she couldn't see him.